Welcome to Real Gardens. Well, it's been a funny old summer. One minute it's boiling hot and then it's freezing cold, and we've had pouring rain, and yet below the surface of the soil it's bone dry. But as gardeners, there's nothing we can do but accept it and deal with it, which is certainly what our Real Gardeners have found this week. This week, Anne-Marie is pulling rank in the Cotswolds.
You trying to tell me how to lay gravel? You haven't got any MyPex down, no hardcore.
And Carol Klein is going back to her roots in Devon.
It looks lovely and wild.
Yeah, well, you're a wild woman.
The countryside around Huddersfield in West Yorkshire is still lush and green after our wet summer. On the edge of one of the old industrial villages, Adam Waterman raises organic vegetables on his 3 allotments. Adam grows his produce on raised beds covered with horticultural paper that are the cutting edge in organic gardening. He always has something unusual to show me. Hi.
Hello, Monty, my friend.
I put a straw down.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
So how are you?
Very well. You?
I'm fine, yeah. Why are you tying those up?
Well, they're starting to get to a size where I don't really want the wind to start taking out the tubers. They'll knock them away.
But I thought the whole point of Jerusalem artichokes was to absorb the wind and act as a windbreak.
It'll still act as a windbreak, but I think they could look quite nice as well.
I never grow them to eat because they're so flatulent.
A night in with the boys.
You wouldn't want a night in with me after Jerusalem artichokes, but they look very healthy, don't they?
Yeah, they're nice looking plant. They were lovely.
When I last saw Adam's allotment in July, many of his plants were behind, but now they seem to be catching up. The kale and broccoli are branching out. The artichokes are ready to eat, and the potatoes are in full bloom. Our first task today is to earth up the potatoes. Usually soil is ridged up to prevent the tubers from going green, but in Adam's no-dig garden, the soil is replaced by straw. So how thick do you want it on?
About 4 inches, 5 inches, about that. Basically to cut out the light.
And the paper doesn't do that?
No, not quite enough. Last year I didn't bother doing this, and I suppose about maybe 5%, 10% got green, the very top ones.
And what do you do with the straw when you finish?
Well, I'll either compost it, or I might cover the asparagus in the winter.
Adam's experiments don't stop with his potatoes. In his polytunnel, he's growing rare varieties of vegetables, some of them on the brink of extinction. Now, why have you got me grovelling down here, looking at these scrawny melons?
They're scrawny. They're lovely little classic heritage melons, these. These are green nutmeg melons. Right. And then I have Blenheim orange over there, and I don't want them to cross-pollinate, which they would do if I left them to insects to fertilise.
OK, so you've just got 2 of them?
Yeah, just 2. I only got 3 seeds. And then,
really? Just that few?
Yeah, so I'm down to 2 plants.
OK, so they're very precious?
They're very precious to me, yeah. So that's why I hand-pollinate them.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I've hand-pollinated melons, I've done it with a brush.
Right.
Well, is that how you do it?
No, I don't. All I do is identify the male flower. This is a male.
Yeah.
This is a female with the fruit at the back.
And if it's not a female, it must be a male?
Yeah, exactly.
OK.
So all you do is you pull off a male flower.
Yeah.
And you pull away the petals.
That's quite drastic, isn't it?
Yes. And you get the male part of the flower.
Right, so you're just revealing
the pollen sacs in there, and you insert it into the female.
OK.
There you go.
All right. And how will you know when it's pollinated?
Because the actual fruit will carry on swelling.
So if it doesn't pollinate, it doesn't swell?
Exactly, because the fruit will simply drop off.
And why are you so interested in this heritage seed business?
Plenty of people protect tigers. Now, if people don't protect these kind of heritage plants, then they will go extinct. And other benefits are, I think they taste a bit better, some of them. I think a lot of them are more ornamental. And a lot of them display a way of getting out of pest attacks that a lot of modern crops don't.
Adam is a member of the Heritage Seed Library, which aims to protect vegetable varieties that would otherwise disappear, partly because EC regulations restrict the range of seeds on sale. Volunteers like Adam, along with Prince Charles, are seed guardians who grow and look after some of the heritage varieties, like this rare kind of bean.
Mr. Bounds pea bean pea.
Right.
And all I do is monitor its growth. I monitor how long it takes to flower, I monitor how many seeds will come off it, and then I collect them all up and send them off to Henry Doubleday.
They're trying to develop a gene bank of organically raised plants. And do you have to send all the seeds back to them, or do you allowed to keep as many as you like?
I'll keep a couple of dozen for myself.
And you're allowed to do that?
I think so. I think so. It's good enough payment, isn't it?
You can send some to me.
I'll send some to you, Monty. Don't you worry about that.
Seed guardians are required to keep detailed logs with photographs recording exactly how much work is involved in caring for each variety. Adam and I are making a special trip to take his records to the seed library, which are based at the Henry Doubleday Research Association near Coventry. That's the place.
No, I have a timesheet for a seed search thing, and I have Uncle Bert's purple kale for you. This is paradise. This is paradise.
The Heritage Seed Library stocks seeds from over 700 old varieties which are no longer commercially available. Members receive a limited amount of seed for free and can swap them with other enthusiasts. In the HDRA polytunnels, dozens of varieties of heritage vegetables are grown for seed. Different beans.
Yeah,
it is extraordinary.
Tomatoes, peppers.
What seems to be extraordinary to me is that they look identical, even though we know the fruit and everything else is going to be quite different.
Yeah. Oh, early Warwick. Now, I recognise these from the catalogue. 1890 they were from a seed company that's no longer in production, so you can't get these. The beans are dual purpose. They can be dried or eaten fresh. They're coloured. If that would hit me, I would have them.
It obviously has hit you.
Yes,
You know all those
yes,
facts.
yes.
You're waiting, aren't you?
I am. I'll be ticking these ones off.
Right.
So I've been a kid in a sweet shop.
Is it?
Yeah.
Now this one is completely different.
Yeah. It's
Sort of
lovely, isn't it?
bleached bones of plants. I know these leeks fantastic. Yeah. Of course, if you had lettuce like this, you'd be really annoyed with yourself.
But if you collected the seed, you'd be completely made up.
Certainly, this has inspired me to keep my own vegetable seeds, because we keep a lot of flower seeds.
Right, and you can become a guardian. Because I've noticed a bean there. Don's Delight. Broad bean.
I like
broad
beans.
Go on, Monty, you can do it.
We'll see. Since Anne-Marie first visited Dilys Wilson 3 weeks ago, they've rebuilt a dry stone wall and constructed an arbour. This week, Dilys has a new plan to create a kitchen garden, or traditional French potager, by introducing new structure and plants. But she's achieved a lot since Anne-Marie was here last week.
So, come and see what I've been doing.
Oh, Blythe, you've been busy, haven't you?
Spent some money, a little urn, in my potager, but I'll come on to that in a minute.
All this new trellising you've put in.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the trellis.
And a pond.
And a pond. It's about 2.5 feet deep because it's not very big. So I need the volume of water so it doesn't freeze in the winter and get too hot in the summer.
Yeah, this reconstituted stone is nice as well, isn't it?
It's very good, isn't it?
It's very real.
I haven't finished. It's got to be levelled off. And
look what you've been doing here. When did you do this?
Yesterday.
My God, you really are going for it, aren't you?
Just a bit.
Are you pleased with this?
But I had no idea this was going to look this big.
Today, Dilys wants to concentrate on the kitchen garden next to the house, and her new urn needs some adjustments.
See what you think from this side, because I think it's too tall.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It is, isn't it?
And this is meant to be a focal point.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be dropped down at least a foot.
Yeah. As usual with Dilys, we're straight into some hard labour. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
You can dig a bit faster than that, can't you? After 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. What? Like. Getting the position and level of a large garden ornament right is essential. If the urn is badly positioned, it could upset the symmetry of the whole garden.
Brilliant.
Well, that's pretty much sunk it. How's that?
Come and have a look, see what you think.
That's going to look great with plants just spilling over the top.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
With the urn repositioned, Dilys is keen to show me her new plan for the kitchen garden, based on a French potager, where both flowers and vegetables are grown side by side, usually in a formal design.
Most people have their vegetable pots at the end of the garden screened off, but the end of my garden is where the sun is and where I get the sun till the end of the day, so I don't particularly want to use that space up in something that I can't sit in. And I've got the kitchen right here, so it makes the most logical sense to actually put a vegetable patch here, but I don't particularly want it to be unattractive. It's got to be beautiful to look at, so a potager seems the obvious answer.
And you do get quite a lot of sun here as well, certainly enough to grow some fruit and vegetables with as well.
Oh, yeah.
With Dilys's ideas in mind, we're ready to start planting the urn. Putting stones in the bottom improves drainage and reduces the amount of compost needed. A sprinkling of fish blood and bone will give the plants a good start. And instead of flowers, Dilys has chosen strawberries. I think this is an excellent idea.
Well, it's a bit different, isn't it? A bit funky.
It's nice, and you see this? This has got a runner coming out of it, and the runners will just flop over the side of the pot. So you'll get all strawberries dangling out and new plants actually growing down.
You know the best bit is, you know
What?
the problem when you grow them on the ground is you always have a slug problem? No slugs!
Absolutely. Before we plant the central bed, we're digging in 2 bags of compost. Oh, I can hear the soil going, mmm! Dilys has chosen to grow a varied selection of salad crops, herbs and flowers, all of which will grow very fast at this time of the year. I love these dahlias. They just make me giggle. They're immensely fashionable again now.
How about the flowers going near the urn?
Well, I think we should use that lettuce in a row around the outside because it'll be easier to crop then. You can cut the young leaves off and it'll sprout back up about 5 times over the season. We want it to be fairly random, but I just think that'll look really nice.
Yep, let's go for that.
Dahlias first then. Quite tight. The thing is with this bed is you can change it all the time. OK, let's get these in, so otherwise they'll dry out.
Well, this should be very good for anybody who's into feng shui. All this herbs near my back door and everything.
Really? I didn't know you were into feng shui.
Of a little bit. Herbs are meant to be good because they're healing and they have tranquil qualities and all that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
And it's the same about water. Water's meant to be good in your garden as well because I think it gives you a sense of calmness.
So how far does this feng shui take you?
It's really strange because if you put certain flowers like roses and things in certain colours in your southwest corner, it's meant to attract love and stuff. And when I used to put roses in my windowsill, my southwest corner, I always end up meeting a really tasty bloke. Very odd, but it happens.
So do you do that on a daily basis?
Yeah, I try to.
Is that it?
You think this is finished, don't you?
Yeah.
I got another job for you.
What?
How are your muscles feeling? Come with me.
To cover the bare earth around the completed potager bed, Dilys has chosen Newbury gravel. The flinty browns, greys and whites will complement the sandy colours of the Cotswold stone walls.
I reckon it needs to be about 1 inch. Much more.
Are you trying to tell me how to lay gravel? You haven't got any MyPex down? No hardcore? I don't know. I think we should go and have a look from upstairs. Do you?
Yep.
OK.
My beach.
It's funny, now you've got sun plants in, you're just itching to get more, aren't you,
Yeah.
actually? And that's a real oasis in amongst all of that gravel.
Well, aren't you pleased that you're not going to be here later this week when I do the rest of the gravel around the pond?
Too right.
We're going to take a break now, but we'll be back in a minute or two, and Carol Klein will be visiting Chris and Bill Skills in Devon and helping them to convert a scrubby bit of ground to a beautiful woodland garden. See you in a minute. Welcome back. Now, it's high time that you were propagating your strawberries, if you haven't done so already, because they're putting out runners all the time, and these are perfect plants for next year. Get a 3-inch pot and fill it to the brim with a nice loose compost that the roots can establish in. Doesn't have to be very rich because they're not going to be there for long. Put them under the runner, either sink it in the ground or, like Adam's garden, if it's no dig, just prop it up in the mulch. You put the runner over the centre of the plant and then pin it in position. It'll root very easily, but it does want to be held there. And a pin either side with some bent wire. Leave that for a month and then cut the runner either side and transplant the whole thing to a new piece of ground. And they should bear fruit next year, and they'll be at their best in 2 years' time. The old crop cut to the ground, and after 4 years, ditch them. Don't hang on to them. Much better to have young, vigorous plants. Now we're off to Devon, where Carol Klein is joining Chris and Bill Skeels, who are having a bit of a problem with a tricky piece of the garden. When Chris and Bill Skeels first went back to the land in North Devon, they didn't have a proper garden at all. In front of the house there were lots of trees, which they cleared to let in more light. Recently they've also done lots of hard landscaping around the house. Carol Klein has been helping the couple to bring the garden together. On the south side, the three of them have planted up a wildlife pond and a bog garden. They've also made a silvery shingle garden just next to their patio. The Skeels are so well organised that there isn't much more that Carol can do. But on her final visit, there's one area left where she can really use her expertise. In front of the house, there's still a shady patch under 2 beech trees that's got Chris stumped.
This bit here is the edge of my garden. I've never known what to do with this area at all, really, so I've just left it.
It's beautiful.
Well, aesthetically and naturalistically, it's beautiful. Gardening-wise, for me, it's not, because it looks too scruffy for me sometimes.
That's what I like about it, of course. It looks lovely and wild.
Yeah. Well, you're a wild woman. But I'm only semi-wild, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Have you got any idea of what you want to put in here already?
I'd like some evergreens. I've got some rhododendrons. We've prepared a bed, and I've got some wild plants that I've kept from other parts of the garden. And I thought then that with some of the shrubs that I've got, I could mix it all up and have a nice combination. What do you think?
I think the whole point about most of the wild things is that they really would prefer this kind of area, you know? In the roots of trees. I mean, that's where they grow, that's where they come from.
That is a real surprise, because I thought that under this beech tree here was so dry. I mean, I know there's things growing there, but I actually wouldn't have put anything there expecting it to live.
Well, let's see how we get on. I think some of these would be perfect under there. So you're going to have your ornamental bit there and your wildy bit under the tree. Where shall we start? Please.
I know where you want to start.
Can we? Because there's quite a lot to do there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm dying to investigate these boxes and see what's in them.
You do that, but it's got a bit chilly. I'm going to go and get the cardies.
All right. Chris has kept some wildflower plants and bulbs in trays while they've been waiting for a home. Before they go into the ground, they need dividing, and I'm starting with some primroses.
I feel like a camper.
Oh, look at this. Gardening in comfort.
A little bit of comfort. There you are.
Colour coordinated too.
But of course.
Thanks, Chris. You've got hundreds and hundreds of little primroses in here.
I knew you'd be excited. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I mean, initially it looks like just one clump, but just look at all this new growth. And each one of those is going to make a separate plant. And it's just the right time of year to divide them too. Shall I just tip this right out?
Oh, do you want to put it on here and then we won't lose anything? Yeah.
Ready?
Steady.
Go. This is gorgeous. I'll just shake this bit off. Sorry.
That's okay.
Rough old business gardening, isn't it?
You read this in the books, don't you? And you, when you actually do it for the first few times, you think, oh, I'm going to ruin it. I'm going to tear it to pieces. Yeah. And it actually is good for the plant, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got to be rough to be kind.
So would you leave those roots as long as that then?
No, I think it's really important to trim them down a bit, because if you bung that into a hole, it's bound to go round and round and round, and those roots are never ever going to take hold. But if you trim them to about the sort of length of your palm, you'll encourage the growth then of new little fibrous roots, and this time they'll go straight into the ground that they've got.
Give it a kick start, won't it? So what about I trim and you carry on with that hard job?
Yeah, that sounds a fair deployment of labour. There you go.
Thank you.
I think it would be lovely to put some foxgloves in here too.
Well, I've got lots, haven't I?
Yeah, you've got all those self-seeded ones down by the pond, haven't you?
Yeah, all the way along.
Well, why don't I put these in over here and you go and investigate those foxgloves?
OK.
Yeah? Before I plant the newly divided primroses, I've got to clear the ground of brambles and weeds. The soil underneath big trees is always very dry, and you have to be careful not to damage too many of the roots when you're digging. Chris's ornamental bed will need richer soil, but this is just right for wildflowers. The dormant plants will feel perfectly at home in the leaf mould beneath the tree. Foxgloves have seeded themselves all over Chris's garden. They're biennial plants, developing their leaves in the first year of life and flowering in the second. Although this year all we'll see from these young plants are furry leaves, by early next summer they'll be flowering their socks off.
Haven't you planted them yet?
Yes, I have, but you can hardly see them. Your foxgloves are good, though.
These look magnificent, don't they? But they've got to be planted straight away because they were in the clay and there's hardly any mud with them. Look, they're really bare.
Yeah, but they've got those fine fibrous roots. And this soil is so shallow, they'll just spread out, I'm sure.
I could see that when I was digging them up in the bank. They really sort of spread out.
Yeah, that's what most woodland plants do. You know, nearly everything lives in the top sort of inch or two of the soil because there isn't any more. Too much competition from tree roots. What's in those boxes? Is it bluebells?
Yeah, when we had trees here that we had to take down, these were all living quite naturally underneath them.
Right.
And I know that you're not supposed to leave them out the ground, these bluebells. You're supposed to plant them instantly if you do have to move them. So put them in these mushroom boxes so that they could be in the earth. And so I knew where they were.
Right, exactly. So you kept track on them.
Yeah.
But they'd look marvellous under here, wouldn't they? Mm. Oh, look at the bulbs. We can just fling them around and plant them wherever they fall.
They land.
Yeah. I mean, both the bluebells, the foxgloves and the primroses will seed around anyway.
I'm beginning to see
that
this could look nice.
Could.
Right, do you think that's it?
Yeah, I think that's about all we can do for now and wait for spring. I've managed to take up all our time with the making of this wild part of the woodland garden. But before I go, Chris won't be satisfied until we've put some evergreen shrubs into her ornamental bed to give me an idea of what it'll look like. I know this is going to look really smart, Chris, but I'll tell you what, I'll bet come the spring, it's that one you're going to be wanting to show me.
I think they're both going to look really nice.
Yeah, of course they will.
Of course they will.
Well, that's it this week from Our Real Gardeners, but of course we'll be back next Sunday at the same time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.